Jack knew immediately that something had gone wrong at home. The stifling odor of something bad hit his nose, making Jack take a step back and sneeze. When the sneeze passed, Jack shook his head in confusion, and out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something unfamiliar on the coat rack that he hadn't seen that morning. Jack turned and stared at the strange coat that his wife wouldn't have worn even under pain of death. At the same time, a thin, painfully familiar voice came from the kitchen, saying something in an unpleasant tone. That's when the whole picture revealed itself to Jack. Judging by the smell of luscious perfume poured on himself from a bucket, the strange coat, which not every beggar would flatter, and the thin voice, it was the dear mother-in-law who had visited them. As usual, she arrived suddenly, without a declaration of war, and the wife, fearing that her husband would not come home, decided not to inform Jack. "Jack, is that you?" came the excited voice of his wife, just as Jack was about to make his ignominious escape. "And we've got a surprise here. Mom's here for a visit." "A surprise of sorts," Jack muttered, for which he received a noticeable poke in the back from his wife. As much as Jack tried to put off seeing his mother-in-law, he had to enter the kitchen and put on a semblance of a smile. "Hello, Dorothy," Jack said. "Why didn't you give us a heads up about your visit?" "Maybe we would have had time to move in," Jack said, studiously ignoring his wife's grimace. His mother-in-law nodded regally in greeting and immediately shifted her gaze to Jack, looking at him as if she were seeing him for the first time. "I see there are holes in your aura," Dorothy proclaimed in a dramatic whisper. "Emily, really, I even have holes in my aura. Have you no shame?" "Dorothy, at least you can influence her. I walk around without even clean socks." Jack shook his head contritely and threatened his wife with his finger, ignoring the fist she demonstrated to him. Jack quickly retreated from the kitchen. No sooner had he changed his clothes and settled on the couch to await dinner than his mother-in-law and wife entered the room. "No, things are on the up and up around here." "No wonder you get sick so often." Dorothy put her hands to her temples. Jack, who had last been sick 2 years ago, only grinned and said, "That's not what my wife tells me, that everything here stands well." His mother-in-law, seeing that her words had no effect on the thick-skinned young man, developed a flurry of activity, pointing with her finger what and where to rearrange. Jack, with restrained interest, following the gesticulations of his mother-in-law, was not even going to get up from the couch, and when Dorothy's mother-in-law exhaustedly said that his aura was destroyed and sat down next to him, she immediately sent her daughter to her friend for a walk for a couple of hours to cure his aura, as she said her daughter could interfere with the process. When Emily left, Dorothy quickly threw off all of her extra clothes, leaving only a beautiful white blouse. Apparently, she was already too hot. She jumped onto her son-in-law's bed and began to whisper something in a language he didn't understand. She waved some kind of broom, blowing strange smoke at her son-in-law. And at some point, the son-in-law could not stand it, grabbed his mother-in-law tightly, and then, stupefied by this smoke, kissed Dorothy's mother-in-law. From surprise, the mother-in-law was paralyzed. She looked at her son-in-law and could not understand what was happening. And when the son-in-law kissed her once more on the cheek, she understood everything and melted in his strong hands. Then Dorothy herself pressed herself against her son-in-law. The mother-in-law had not exorcised such a demon for a long time, so this procedure lasted more than an hour, after which the mother-in-law ran to the shower, leaving the son-in-law wondering what would happen next. She came to visit them more than once to heal her son-in-law's aura. Jack always looked forward to this ritual. He liked it when his mother-in-law did it when his wife wasn't home.